I think we need to listen to the United States and listen to what their concerns are and say, how can we also help them deal with their concerns? Listen and say, okay, if this doesn't work for you anymore, fair enough. But how do we work together with you to try and change this? That's what we would like. And when we model a cooperative approach to the US changing its tariffs, maybe increasing it somewhat, it gives better results for the US and for the world than an approach that is tit for tat.
You know, when I was planning this, I said, I'll bet she doesn't want me to remind her of what she said to me in Davos when she said chill on the question of trade and tariffs. Chill. So I wasn't going to until I met her in her office. And then what did you say to me?
I said I will not retract that at all. I still believe that taking a deep breath and chilling in the present atmosphere still applies.
But how can you chill when on a Tuesday the tariffs are announced against your country? On the Wednesday there's a lot of fuss. On the Thursday they are retracted. And now we've got 30 days before they might be back again. And you have to either plan an economy or run a company.
But you're making my point. You're precisely making my point, because I think if on a Tuesday it's one thing, on a Wednesday is another, and then on a Thursday is wait, then you don't need to overreact.
But when do you react?
When the policy is actually implemented and sticks.
We'll never know that until it happens, and arguably it could be too late.
You've seen Mexico and Canada undertaking a dialogue with the United States, and that actually resulting in the pause, right? So you don't know where you'll go from that. So I still maintain, take a deep breath, dialogue.
Chancellor, with your knowledge of having done, and I accept that you're not in office now, but you have perspective, deep perspective, having gone through it. Firstly, are you surprised at how different this second term from the president is compared to the first?
Diplomacy has always been something that was not projected onto the open market. And if we are diplomats, it's a whole profession. If we want to keep this profession, then I think we need to be distinguished from a radio reporter. A journalist can always express their opinion and say it in the public when something happens, but the task of a politician and from an official is quite different.
Do you support measures now being taken by Europeans, including the next government of Germany, to increase dramatically defense spending and defense strategy?
Ja, absolut.
Yes, absolutely. Even in my term in office, the decisions of Wales after the annexation of Crimea by Russia, we committed ourselves to increasing the expenditure to 2% over the next 10 years. At the time, this happened slowly, and if I may characterize something in my period in office as not being sufficient, then it was this. There was a deterrent component to this, and the diplomacy went hand in hand with this. And today I think this is still valid. So from a European perspective, I would certainly not slam the door and say we don't need the US anymore. Obviously, this would be overestimating ourselves. But the fact that the Europeans need to do more, yes, I think this is both necessary and right.
Do you believe that the European institutions and the decision-making mechanisms are fit for purpose when dealing with something like we're dealing at the moment, where you can have a decision on the other side of the Atlantic? The old Henry Kissinger line, as you're well familiar, when I want to speak to Europe, who do I call?
Well, yes, Kissinger always found someone who could call Europe for him.
Eine Demokratie hat ja mehr
A
als nur
democracy
einen
is much more than just a president. It's all part of the essence of a democracy. The fact that in Europe things go a bit more slowly, that I don't contend, that's part of it. But the fact is,
wenn es vor einer großen Herausforderung
when Europe is faced with a huge challenge, it has always managed to decide the right thing